Hey guys, my name is Shai and I am super excited for this video because it is inspired by and we are tuning into a serpent dragon queen, okay? Her energy and the energy of her entire collective. Or collectives, I should actually say. There are multiple iterations of collective consciousnesses here that will be relevant. I will try to explain that more in a minute. I guess start from the beginning, right? She was my most recent, interdimensional encounter. It was over this weekend. I'm just feeling my consciousness shift quite a lot here as I'm sinking down into the energy of this reading. This is going to be something else. This is going to be quite interesting. I can feel honestly, it kind of feels like my third eye is sliding to the side, which is a pretty interesting sensation, but lots of interesting sensations going on in my forehead and like the crown of my head and all of that. So anyway, she says you can call her Tiamat. Obviously many different ways of pronouncing that, but Tiamat. But a note on the name Tiamat is that she's known by other names, so you could easily know her energy by some other name, and also not everyone who says Tiamat is referring to her. There are other beings, other energies that also have the same name, just like how humans, almost all humans, share a name with someone else, right? So just a note there that Tiamat is not exclusive to her. The other thing is I'm calling her the Serpent Dragon Queen because there's a big mixing here of snake and dragon energy. Snake and dragon. And that's why the word serpent is really the meat of this here. It's this serpent energy. And because, she keeps showing me snakes, which are, what we would call serpents, but then there's also dragons. And on Earth here, we have many different ways of visualizing dragons, right? You have the kind of what we might call the Asian dragon, which is long and serpentine and may or may not have wings. Then the kind of Western dragon, right, which is more kind of round, roly-poly, has wings and rings, right, sits on a hoard of gold. And you could even refer to lots of different types of dinosaurs and other creatures as dragons because of just the way they look, right? So emphasis here on she's like this primordial serpent energy, primordial serpent, and she shows me this in a circle. So I'm not sure if and because to her this is the same thing. I'm not sure if she's like the mother of dragons and snakes or if she is the descendant of dragons and snakes. And she's just saying it's the same thing. It's the same thing. She keeps going on in this circle. So human mind obviously isn't quite sure about that, right? But basically convergence, right? She is the convergence of snake and dragon. And that's why it comes together as this serpent. But I definitely get a very strong like dragony vibe. And she kind of, the way, her visual form is coming through for me looks really very much like how I personally imagine a dragon, but that's just my visual filter doing that. And I see her as black, primarily black, but also I'm like getting a lisp, kind of a snaky lisp. Primarily black with some kind of dark white or some kind of pearly gray accents, really with dark green accents. And she rules her collective with her king consort, and he is dark red with gold accents, the way I see him. and I see them in dragon form, serpent form, but also in a kind of anthropomorphic, human-ish sort of form. One thing that was coming through really, really loud and clear is that, like, why is she the queen and the queen, the queen, and she has this king consort? Something really interesting, and it came through as one of the first things, so it seems very important to this collective's energy, is that they like are completely egalitarian when it comes to the sexes, the biological sexes, male and female. They don't even understand, you know, the kind of male versus female struggles that have gone on Earth, right? They don't understand that literally at all. They see it as like no significant difference, right? They would never even conceive of thinking that male or female is better than the other. It's like the comparison doesn't compute in their minds, except for there's this one thing, because they do have differences in their biology, right? And I think these beings, they do exist in a physical form somewhat similar to ours, but I'm getting most of this energy is coming down from the higher etheric realms, but it's, of course, they exist in a vertical spiral throughout densities, right? So anyway, this thing that comes through as being a very, very important point about this entire collective consciousness is that despite the fact that they don't understand how to essentially compare male and female, they recognize one difference and they see it as a simple fact of nature, a simple fact of how things are, and that is that only the females can rule. So that is why the queen is the sole ruling power. She's the only one with any power or authority to do anything, and she has the king consort. She has her king, her partner, but he's essentially a figurehead, and he's there as her consort, and that is because they see the female or the feminine energy as being complete, as being perfectly whole. But they don't see that as better or worse than the companion energy, the male energy, the masculine energy, because they see that as being more specific, more tailored, and it's like a cost thing. They essentially see that masculine energy has lost something. So masculine energy is essentially, it's complete in and of itself. It's not that it's really missing something. It's just that there's less of it, or it's more specific, it's more tailored, and that makes it more specialized, so it's more focused. But because of that, that's like the only difference. Because the masculine energy is more narrow, more fixed, more focused, more specialized, they see it as impossible and completely nonsensical for masculine energy to rule. They essentially consider only the feminine energy, only, and especially in their case, only a female, like in a female biological body, can rule. So that's why she comes through as the queen with the king consort and all of that. And if I haven't mentioned it already, but I should have, is the Draco. So Tiamat and this serpent collective, who are this blending, but at the same time this divergence. It's very interesting. So there's something incredibly non-linear going on here, right? It's this splitting, but also this blending together of serpent and like snake and dragon energy. All of this is an ancestral energy for the Draco. She sees the Draco as being like her great-great-grandchildren, her great-great-grandchildren. And for her, that's part of her collective, part of her descendants, part of who she looks after, part of who she oversees, right? So, this video is going to be of particular interest to my Draco starseeds, right? And I especially hear a lot from people who don't personally identify as a Draco starseed, but who have a partner who's a Draco. That seems to be really common, and specifically a Hadarian and Draco pair. I hear about that all the time. Like, I'm not the one. Actually, I did a video about Hadarians and reptilians a really long time ago, and essentially see the reptilians as an offshoot of the Draco. So it's like this tree, right? But there's also something here about Lyran energy. because she's saying Lyrans are her cousins. Lyrans are her cousins, and she's confirming again what something I always get about how the Lyrans are, in some way, at least in part, also ancestral energy for the Draco. Because the Lyrans are at the beginning of most things like that are relevant to us, especially when we consider the higher dimensional Lyran funnel, I almost want to call it, like the higher dimensional energy that came down to create the original Lyran collective in the physical, like Lyran star system, right? Before that, it all existed in higher realms and it came down. So that's really foundational energy here. And I'm essentially seeing the cat and the serpent, the cat and the serpent, the cat and the serpent twining together here. The cat energy showing up in this moment as gold, and the serpent energy showing up as basically her color, like a blackish green or a greenish black. Okay, one other thing before I get the cards. I just want to share everything that I've gotten, or, you know, at least a few things that I've gotten so far, is that she presents herself as her and the king consort together. Her relationship with the king consort is like, it's everything. It is essentially everything. The king consort, even though he's not the ruler and they understand that male energy cannot rule, he's essentially the energy that all of these serpent Dracos, I will call them, they're like the ancestors of the Draco, all of these serpent Draco look up to. Right? He's this great role model and figurehead. Man, sometimes when I'm tuning into specific energies, it makes it impossible to talk. But together, they are the seal, SEAL, not like the animal, but, you know, like the seal, to seal something, to close something, to make it sealed, right? And she's showing me, she thinks it's funny that in English we have to seal something, SEAL, and sealing. I mean, of course, you can spell sealing SEALING, but then we also have sealing with a C, CEILING, right? The ceiling of your house, the ceiling, the top. And she thinks it's really funny that those spellings have diverged because she's like, it's all the same thing. She is the seal, she is the ceiling, her and the king consort. They are the seal and the ceiling. They seal in the serpent Draco collective. They actually seal them in to this universe. They seal them into this universe. And that's a very interesting thing. So they are the sealing energy. They're the energy that's like capping off this entire collective and keeping it inside of this universe, stopping it from breaking out. And why, right? Well, what is that? That's a really big. This isn't like, how do I make myself clear on this? How do I make myself how do I express how I feel this? It is. So I see her in the king consort is absolutely benevolent, beautiful, beautiful energy, but also very, very strong, very take no shit, and very there is an element here of we will protect you even if you don't want us to, because it's for your own good. That kind of energy, right? And she sees that as part of the function of being the queen, protecting someone for their own good. And she doesn't take this lightly, but as she says, if we did not protect them, if we did not seal them, if we were not the sealing, then they would destroy themselves. They would not exist. Wow. As I said that, literally the Five of Swords flips over with defeat. With defeat. So this is very, 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 very interesting because, well, she's like, it's not exactly an infringement on free will, although she understands why it would seem that way. right? Because it might seem that she's sealing in this entire collective. But it's not an infringement of free will, because on a higher level, all of these souls chose to come down into this closed collective, right? Come down into the closed collective. And essentially, it's kind of like, I don't know, on Earth, when if you were to sign up for the military, you would like sign your life away for 4 years or something like that, right? It's kind of like that. So she's saying it's not an infringement of free will because everybody agreed to come into this. And she's also saying this is not really different than any other type of collective, or any other type of, or most, right? Most other collectives and most other types of incarnation experiences, because if you did not, at this level of density, right, where we're kind of like down here and kind of in the lower frequencies, right, if you did not have some type of structure protecting you from yourself, you would simply cease to be, right? You would simply cease to be. So that is why you allow and even create structures that sometimes appear to be infringing upon your own free will, so that you can continue to exist in that space and continue to have free will within that space. A little bit, this is like pretty hard hitting stuff, right? This is pretty hard hitting stuff. And this is what I mean about how she's quite like, I definitely feel her as this benevolent energy, and she cares deeply for all of the beings under her rulership, and she wants them all to thrive, and she wants them all to be happy and all of that. And she does literally everything. Like her entire existence is in service, right? This isn't like a power flex. She's not doing this to exercise power over those quote unquote beneath her. She sees this as the ultimate act of service, and kind of how in a way she actually has less free will than those she governs, because she has this responsibility, right? She has this responsibility. For her, it is this weight of responsibility to govern and rule and be the seal for this entire collective, guiding them and guarding them. That's what she says, guiding them and guarding them. Seldom, but sometimes protecting them from themselves, only when necessary. That is her responsibility. And because of the weight of this responsibility, her free will is actually largely restricted. She can't just go off and do whatever she wants, right? She has taken on this responsibility, and this responsibility for her will not end until, I guess, because she is existing in a realm where not exactly immortal, right? But as close to immortal as makes no difference to the human mind, right? She's essentially tethered herself to the flow and evolution of this universe, and she knows that one day all things come to an end. But essentially, until the dissolution of her rulership in this universe, she does not have the free will to escape from her responsibility. So yeah, big, deep message here about just considering what free will actually is, what might actually be going on when you feel like your free will is being ignored or thwarted, right? Why you might have put yourself in the position to feel like you have less free will, and what that looks like holistically and for everyone. And so what exactly do I mean by like keeping them in this pocket, right? Keeping them in this universe. There's something about these serpent Draco who they're essentially like very, very explosive, extremely high energy. And it's like they all just want to get out. They want to get out, and she sees them like we would see children who have been cooped up inside for too many days in a row, and they just want to get out and run around. The Eight of Swords, right? That is that feeling of being trapped in a cage, but having to free yourself from the cage. And this is really interesting. So these Serpentine Draco, that this is almost like it's their cross to bear, this energy. So every, just like every human, every collective consciousness has that energy that is particularly challenging, like that challenge that they must work through, right? The energy that they need to resolve. And the Serpentine Draco, what they want, like what they crave, what they want the most, is to blast out and break free of any and all restraints, any and all cages. To be caged is the worst. They would prefer anything than a cage, right? They don't want to be caged in. They want to get out there and they want to run around. They want to be wild and free. It's almost like, how to describe this? That energy, we all want that energy, right? That energy is so important and vital to all existence, right? The energy of breaking out of the cage, of breaking the mold, of blasting free. We like, without that, we would all just collapse in on ourselves, right? But that energy, when taken to excess, would literally destroy everything. Because imagine, I'm sure we've all at some point said something like, I want to live in a reality without cages, right? Or like, I don't know if that's something everybody would have said, but that feeling, right? Have you ever looked at a bird in a cage or an animal in a cage and gone, that is so sad, right? And just been deeply disturbed. Just anything about cages, not wanting to be closed in. And yet, if we took that energy all the way, take that thought all the way, what happens? If you were going to try and free yourself from every single cage, well, your house is a cage. If you get rid of your house, well, now you're exposed to the elements. Your body is a cage, okay? Blast yourself out of your body, now you're disembodied, okay? Now what is holding your energy together, right? Your soul together. What is holding your soul together? That's something, identity, gravity, something, right? Something is holding your soul together. So if you were to blow out of that, well, then you would just be these particles, right? Well, okay, well, at least you're inside of some kind of universe or some kind of realm. That is still some kind of cage. Blast that away, okay, because it's a cage. Well, now there's nothing but the void. Everything has just returned to the 0 point field, to null consciousness, to the tiniest possible fractals. So what this is, essentially what the Serpentine Draco are holding within them, is the drive to break out of the cage that is so extreme that if it is not grappled with, if it is not understood, if it is not I don't want to really use the word transmuted here. That doesn't seem like that's what this is, but this energy must be worked with, okay? This energy must be worked with so that it can be expressed and it's like it really needs to be used. It really needs to be expressed. This energy cannot be it is the energy that wants to break out of a cage, but it also needs to be caged. So how do you do that? How do you cage the uncageable? How do you lock up the energy that would inadvertently and accidentally destroy all that is? And more to the point here is that the beings who carry this energy, and I think definitely every single human carries this energy to some degree, right? But these Serpentine Draco, they all have it. They have it in spades, okay? They have it in spades. The Priestess and Six of Wands with Victory. So they have this energy just absolutely busting out of them because they selected that as to be their collective challenge. So they are essentially grappling with this desire to break out of the cage and Tiamat and her king consort are, it's interesting. What I'm hearing doesn't make any sense, but I'll share it anyway. She's saying that she has the wisdom, right? She is the priestess here. She has the wisdom, and the king consort has the supply. Interesting choice of words. And it's like supply of energy. There's something special about him where he has like this just otherworldly capacity to chew through energy. And when I see them together, I see them like ping-ponging around all over the place. Tiamat and the king consort, they ping-pong like crazy all over the place. And that's how they act as this sealing, how they act as the seal, by using their energy and ping-ponging it around, moving, 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 always in motion, always adapting. But it's not frenetic, it's actually relaxed. Do you know, like at theme parks where they have, roller coasters, and some theme parks that have like the really crazy, scary rides where they'll do like a slingshot. They'll just put two people in a slingshot and like sling them around. That stuff terrifies me, but that's kind of how I see them. They're slingshotting around, crisscrossing just like this. Okay. Crisscrossing, making this hatchwork. Hatchwork, is that a thing? This lattice work, these cross hatches of energy, and that's how they're sealing in this energy so that it can be used inside of this space they have created. Emphasis here on how much they create the space for this collective to exist, right? They create the space for this collective to exist. And I essentially see this entire Serpentine Dragon collective, it's like a non-stop party, right? Because they have all of this energy of breaking free to use, and Tiamat and the king consort are kind of showing them how to use that energy and how to feel free within the confines of the space that they have created, within the confines of the structure of their collective consciousness, of their civilization. And I do see it as a multi-planetary civilization, a multi-stellar civilization, really huge civilization. And even within the confines of this universe, right? And even like within the confines of consciousness itself, they really want to blast out. And it's very, 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 very interesting, because that's why I think she's coming through, why I'm meeting her in this really primordial state, right? This Serpentine Dragon collective that is somehow the convergence, both the ancestor and the descendant of snake and dragon, and definitely the ancestor. This is always more clear. She's the ancestor, and this collective, they're the ancestors of the more commonly known Draco, right? So because this energy of wanting to break out of the cage has been refined and refined and refined and refined and refined and refined and refined. Beings have been working with this for a span of time so vast, I don't even know how to attempt to put a human number on it. It's not just generational. We're talking about generations of collective consciousnesses, generations of civilizations, like multiple generations of civilizations. But again, it's not even about the civilizations. It's about, we have Lyrans involved here. We have dragons, we have snakes, and we have the Serpentine Draco. And then going down, we have there's something in between, and I can't see what it is. That's going to have to be I don't know if I'll ever encounter that, but there's a gap in between the Serpentine Draco. Then there's some other group, and then there's the Draco that starseeds are typically more familiar with, right? And then you have the reptilians, and it goes down, down, down. And here we are and then we have, of course, humanity. And there's a sidetrack of all this thing where the same energy has been worked through in parallel by the Lyrans. So here we are on Earth. grappling with this energy that wants to break free. And if you're watching this video, then just know that you have inherited this energy one way or the other. It's present within all humans. It is present with literally within all humans. But how much that comes forward for you depends on who you are and everything, right? But you have specifically inherited this, either two possibilities here, and for some it will be both, right? For some, you've inherited it literally through your biological line, your physical ancestors in this lifetime. For others, it is your soul heritage going all the way back to lifetimes as a Draco or as one of these Serpentine Draco, or you can also be inheriting this through dragon consciousness. The snake consciousness doesn't really have this same blasting out of the cage type of vibe, but with snake consciousness, it's more about knowledge, right? It's about knowledge, and the snake consciousness has the knowledge that will give you the knowledge of good and evil, right? The knowledge with snakes, it's the knowledge that will break you out of the cage. With the dragons, it's the power, almost like the knowledge of power, the reckoning of power, the understanding of power, and that's what breaks you out of the cage. So that's where this all comes together here. It's the knowledge and the power. Knowledge and power blended together here. And so her ultimate gift and her ultimate lesson that she teaches is how to put this. She teaches how to know without going blind, to know without going mad, to know without regretting that you learned. She teaches how to feel your own power, how to acknowledge your own power, how to embody your own power without using your power in ways that you will regret. So she is this incredibly powerful, I don't even know a word. She is this point where knowledge that has often been dangerous to know and power that has often been misused come together. She holds both of those things within her, and yet she rules and governs with love and compassion and dignity and benevolence, right? So tuning into her energy here is really a great honor. And it will help all of us understand our own power, recognize our own power, and then remember at the soul level how to wield that power and when to not wield the power, right? So this whole thing about knowing what to say is important, but also knowing when to stop speaking is equally important. She says sometimes where you end the sentence is everything. So a big part of wielding your power is knowing how not to wield it, right? How not to wield it. And she just wants me to mention that she's not keeping the Serpentine Draco, she's not keeping them inside their collective and their space like forever and ever without end. They all eventually do graduate. It's when one of them becomes her equal then they naturally go off into the universe. And it's not that she's not the one who judges them as an equal. She doesn't pass judgment on them in this way. She doesn't actually, it's not like she's sitting there going, okay, you get to ascend and no, you go back to the mines, right? It's not like that at all. It's a natural energetic process. She is simply the ceiling. And when one of her fellow Serpentine dragons evolves their consciousness to this point of being mature in knowledge and power, then she will look at them and just the both of them will naturally resonate as an equal. Like it's all about resonance. It's about vibration. There is no like mental or egoic judgment happening here. She does not sit in judgment in that way. And then the being would simply be free to ascend or transcend the ceiling that her and the king consort have created, right? They just, it's like I've graduated, I'm going off, right? That's it. So they're not trapped, they are evolving. Lunar eclipse with change. 8th house with endings and beginnings. That's really funny. Okay, I'm not going to draw any more cards because these almost mean the same thing. Ending and beginning. Lunar eclipse. Change. Here we even have like... you could almost read this as being the queen and the king consort. Kind of interesting. So... this is where you're at, right? This is where you're at. Endings, change, new beginnings. The continual cycle. One day, and that day might be now, or any other day. The point is one day, you will look down at the ceiling that you had been under. Let me edit that. It's because looking down, that has connotations in English that don't apply here. One day you will look over and you will see the ceiling and you will realize that you are now looking at the roof. Right? The point is simply that that's how fast this shift can go. That's how fast that you can experience these changes and these shifts in consciousness, these moments of ascension, these moments of eternal ascension that are just ascension and descension and essentially just evolution and constant change, constant endings and new beginnings. The ceiling is only a ceiling, and you are only sealed under it for as long as you are a vibrational match for the space under the seal, right? I'm really feeling this upwelling, this like growth, this like slow, expansive type of glow. It's growth that feels like glow. Now I know why people say, not grow up, it's glow up. That's what this is. This is a glow up, okay? This is a glow up. She's coming through here to help escort you through a glow up and know that it is part and parcel with this reconciliation of your knowledge and this reconciliation of your power. And now you have essentially taken the responsibility for your own knowledge and your own power, and it is evident by the way you are vibrating that the knowledge and power within you are not a threat to yourself or others. So now you can elevate beyond the ceiling. You can break the seal and you can come out because you have learned, because you have glowed up, right? You have glowed up. You can come out of the petri dish. Come out of the classroom. You can graduate. Yeah, I think you guys can feel into all of the, or many, you know, I'm sure there's many here I haven't realized either, but we can all feel into many of the different implications here. So I'm going to leave this video there. Sending you guys so much love and light, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.